coming into that time of year of Advent, when we consider the arrival of Almighty God into our world in the flesh. And of course, God came to us in the form of the baby of Bethlehem, and we wonder at that child's innocent and tremendous love for us. But just before we enter into the Advent season and start to think about that little baby, I want to challenge you all today to think about who that baby is and why that baby came into this world for us. And the defining moments of that baby's life were not fully revealed until his death and resurrection. Those are the events that tell us who Jesus really is. In the events leading up to his crucifixion on Calvary, we see the most terrible combination of human events culminating in his death. Everything goes wrong for him, and he is beaten and crushed. First of all, he is betrayed by one of his own followers, Judas. He is abandoned by his own disciples, denied by his close friend Peter. He is put on trial before every judiciary there was, before Pilate and Herod and Annas and Caiaphas, and all of them mocked and ridiculed him and humiliated him. Before the soldiers, he was beaten and whipped and spit upon and forced to wear the crown of thorns, and finally he came to Calvary's cross. When Jesus got to the cross, there was not much left of him. He was cold and hungry. His body was broken. Everything that was precious to him had been taken away. He was crushed and all but destroyed. And as he hung there on the cross of Calvary with his last dying breaths, he uttered a few words. And the final words that Jesus spoke were these: a broken and weak man who knows that everything is finished. And he says, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. And in those words, Jesus Christ died. And in accordance with our belief and with our confessions, when he died, he descended into hell. And then you begin to realize that all of these things that happen in the visible world, all of this torment and torture and hatred on the part of his followers and the part of Pilate and Herod and those who tried him, was paralleled in the world of the Spirit. Christ had made powerful enemies. He was the enemy of greed, ignorance, and fear. He was the enemy of hatred and prejudice. He was the enemy of Satan and death and the grave, and they were powerful enemies. And now Jesus, the pale and broken Galilean, the carpenter from Nazareth, being crushed and destroyed, is delivered into hell, into the very abode of Satan himself, where Satan is going to finish him off. I hope you have an imagination. I hope you can see what it was like for Jesus when he descended into hell, broken and ruined and weak, and there he was lying on the ground of hell, and all around him his most terrible and dreaded enemies. Fear, ignorance, and greed stood around him, mocking him because he was now beaten. Hatred and pride and prejudice were there, laughing at Jesus. And then, coming forward to see him and to crush him, Satan himself, with his two favorite minions, death and the grave. And Satan looked at Jesus lying on the ground, broken, and he said to him, "You thought that you could fight me? You are nothing to me. You have been delivered into my realm, Jesus, and now I will crush and destroy you once and forever." And evil threw back his head and laughed, and the grave laughed at Christ and said, "You are finished." What a horrible scene. What a frightful and heartbreaking thing for any Christian to think. Is this what became of the little child in Bethlehem? That he should descend into hell and be finished off by Satan and death and the grave. But as the minions of hell stood around laughing at Jesus and preparing to finish him off, a strange thing happened. Jesus stood up from the ground, and he brushed the dust from himself, and he said, "Satan, I have come for you." And then he uttered the same words he had said on the cross of Calvary as he died. "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit."